All right. Hello, everyone. As usual, one, I'm going to kill just a few minutes, just babble on a little bit. Um, Give a few more people to join in. As usual, when you join the live stream, how about a little just hello and where you're from. If you watch this and the recording, how about just typing in, hi, watched it later from your city here, just so we can get an idea. Tonight's topic. Yesterday, my first thought was I went through one of my students, his lengthy list. He has an entire section on philosophy, or about 10 questions in there. And so originally I was thinking about just philosophies in general, centerline theory, immovable elbow, triangles, blah, 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 blah. But Andre has had a particular problem in terms of execution of his martial art since I've met up with him. I mean, he's done a great job. He's a really good student. He's there all the time. He's lost a tremendous amount of weight. That's just a lot of hard work on his part, and kudos for him. Oh, and by the way, if you guys can't hear me or if anything looks funny or whatever, let me know. But he has a particular a performance issue. And so I decided kind of late yesterday, that's really kind of what I need to talk about. And so you've seen the tag for today, mindfulness. And with a kind of a sub, it's sort of philosophy, and it sort of is. Thank you, Fresno. I don't claim to be an expert on mindfulness. I mean, there is an entire art to mindfulness. And I'm not going to get into that. I do not claim to be even remotely experienced with it. But the basic concept of mindfulness is something we all need and can examine and see how it affects our martial arts and how it affects our day. I know for myself that this practice of martial arts, even when I was a teen and studying Okinawan, the practice, learning kata, really helped with mindfulness. My mind does tend to, hey Andre, glad you're here. My mind does tend to wander a little bit at times, but we need to work on that. And the practice of martial arts can do that. And for fun and kind of highlighting a little bit of mindfulness, hold on for a moment. I'm going to give, because Andre needs this. Yes, Andre needs this.
Why must you become Jedi?
Mostly because of my father, I guess.
Father? How for Jedi was he? How for Jedi?
Oh, come on. How could you know my father? You don't even know who I am. No, I don't even know what I'm doing here. We're wasting our time.
I cannot teach him. The boy has no patience.
You will learn patience.
Much anger in him. Like his father.
Was I any different when you taught me?
He is not ready.
Yoda. I am ready. Ben, I can be a Jedi. Ben, tell him I'm ready.
Ready, are you? What knows you ready? For 800 years have I trained Jedi. I don't count you will I keep one who is to be trained. A Jedi must have the deepest commitment, the most serious mind. This one, a long time have I watched. All his life as he looked away to the future, to the horizon, never his mind on where he was, what he was doing. Adventure, excitement. A Jedi craves not these things. You are reckless.
Okay, so right there from Star Wars is a lesson in mindfulness. And Lucas does a wonderful job because he shows us Luke's lack of mindfulness literally just 2 sentences before, when he's, Ben, I'm ready, and he tries to stand up in a building that's only as high as his waist. He has no clue where he is because he is focused on something that is not in front of him. He's focused on some future point. And Andre, I'm not picking on you. You need to hear this, and you are a good example. Andre has difficulty with doing the thing at the moment. If he's working the Mukyang Jong, a good example, we spent probably 20 minutes last night on what is for us step number 5 in the Mukyang Jong, right off the first set, which is 5, your Tan Sao, stepping in, Hawang Jern, or low palm strike, while you're leg checking the leg. He would go from 5, 6, 7, 8, the reverse on the opposite side, 9, 10, and then 11. You are at 10, where you're at that Jan Sao and Hoon Sao, just before you're getting ready to finish the set. You are in Jetsama, and you are going to do a palm strike to the center. To do that, you do want to straighten up, but when do you straighten up? When by straighten up, I mean reset your angle so that you are center to center, or center plane to center plane. The question is, when do you want to do that? For broad-shouldered folk, during the Jetsama, you can easily sneak your hand inside between the Mukyang Jong's arms and then center yourself up for your palm strike. But if you're broad-shouldered, if you're a bigger guy, and you center yourself up first, then it's very difficult to get your arm in between the Mukyang Jong's arms. So that's one point where he's not being mindful of what he's doing at the moment, and so it causes a problem. Going back to move 5, he and a lot of people, Bong Stao, step, Tan Sao, Hawang Jern, and leg check. A lot of people will drop their Wu Sao. They have it during the Bong Sao. They will drop the Wu Sao because they're thinking about the palm strike they have not yet done. They're thinking about the future and not thinking about what they're doing. When really the low palm strike should come from your Wu Sao. Bong, Tan, low palm strike, rather than Bong, Wu, drop hand, Tan, raise it up to do the low palm strike. It's not that he doesn't understand what the move is. He has a little difficulty coordinating the timing of the move, not because he doesn't have coordination. Andre has a good bit of coordination, and everybody who has the same problem, most of them are coordinated enough they can handle that. What it is that their mind isn't on the moment. They're thinking about what's coming and not what is. Now, on one hand, I was thinking today, I was preparing for Friday's food, ways of describing mindfulness. And if you're curious, you should look it up and just get a simple Webster's dictionary definition. Generally, it's about being aware of everything at the moment. And very often we will use the term focus. But focus is not mindfulness. Focus is not only a target and not being aware of everything, but it's also, focus is timeless, or it's out of time. When you read a book, or when you look at a tiny thing and you focus on it, or if bottom gate, that's fine too. Yes, thank you, Fresno. When you focus on a specific, well, let's say in martial arts, if I focus on a specific thing, if I focus on my opponent's lead hand, I've removed myself in time. Whereas mindfulness is seeing everything in the moment. And remember, the moment, or the good old 60s kind of idea, now, as soon as you say now, now is gone. It's a new now. It's now. There's a constant stream of them. Focus doesn't worry about that so much. But mindfulness is concerned with the now. Everything in the now. And in the case of performing the Mukyang Jong, Silam Tao, Chum Q, Nahanchi 1, Nahanchi 2, Nahanchi 3, whatever, or sparring for that matter, you want to be aware of your entire self, not a small piece of it. You want to be aware of the Mukyang Jong or your opponent, not a piece of it. And you want to track those things through time, trying to maneuver yourself as you've been taught as best as possible. I've mentioned before, I have my piano here. I originally went to college to be an applied musician. But I have a problem, and part of it is mindfulness in music. I tend to, in the case of music, I make a cardinal sin. I am keenly aware when I make a mistake. Yes, there you go, Andre. Good, look that up, good definition. When I'm playing the piano, I'm keenly aware of having made a mistake, and I want to go back and fix it at the time. But the problem is the rest of the band has moved on. Time continues. I tend to go from mindfulness of the music and what I'm doing and playing to focus on an error. And since I'm focused, I'm now out of time, and I want to go back and hit the right key, but I can't, because time has moved on, the piece has marched on. Again, I'm not going to profess to be any kind of expert on mindfulness, but the first key to becoming more mindful is to take a repeated pattern, a Mukyang Jong, a Silam Tao, break it down into chunks, and try to become first more aware of your overall being. especially for people working Wing Chun, a good thing is always asking them, where's your Wu Sao? Because too often during the Pak Sao set, they'll just get sloppy and that hand will just drop instead of properly placing the Wu Sao hand. They get focused on the striking hand, the Pak Sao hand. They completely forget about the Wu Sao. It becomes lazy. So the first thing is just slow a thing down and examine your whole body. That is a valid point, PK89. When training, when learning a piece of music, going back and hitting the correct key is an attempt to reprogram myself to get it right. But when performing it, you can't do that. You have to be mindful of the rhythm and the band, where the band is going, and you got to keep up with it. And you make a mistake, you got to keep going. And you also have to be mindful of, again, of the band and what you're doing. Some people rush. They're trying to get to the end. And this is a big thing. It happens in music, obviously, but it happens a lot in martial arts, too. People try to get to the end. They're trying to finish things up. Especially when they're doing something like a form. As much as one may enjoy the form, to some degree, for most people, a form, Silam Tao, Mukyang Jong, a sparring match, whatever, is kind of mundane. And it's like, okay, I want to get to the end, which means you're not being mindful on what you're doing at the moment. Now, Andre didn't ask, but he was getting ready to ask. I could tell when we were talking last night. So if you're constantly focused on the moment, on the now, how do you plan ahead? Almost every martial arts student will say of their instructor, they're always 2 moves ahead of me. Well, how can they be 2 moves ahead if the instructor is better, because the instructor is really in the moment and dealing with the now? And that comes from, one, learning your forms and learning your techniques and practicing your position such that it becomes more a part of you. You start to own it. That's a key. But also you leave, when you are in the process of doing a thing, when I'm training a song, teaching myself a song, I can make mistakes, I can go back, I can reprogram. When I'm performing a song, I cannot. I have to be mindful that I'm performing, and I must keep moving forward. So I kind of along the same line, again, here's a little more fun. Okay.
That's it, big man. Good done. Give me one. Rest it.
Boy, we ain't done yet.
This is a muscle register on an emotional level. First, distract target. Then lock his blind jab. Count them across to the cheek. Discombobulate. Day. The tempo while employ elbow lock. And body shot. Block the road left. Weaken right jaw. Now fracture. Break ribs. Traumatize overhead. Dislocate jaw entirely. In summary, ears ringing, jaw fractured, ribs cracked, fall broken, diaphragm hemorrhaging, physical recovery 6 weeks, full psychological recovery 6 months, capacity to step back ahead, utilized.
So, why is that up? What Holmes, and I'm going to say Holmes rather than Downey. I mean, I think Downey is a great guy, and he's a great guy for Wing Chun. Yeah, he's a very nice teep. Robert Downey is doing a great thing for Wing Chun overall. But let's talk about the Holmes character. Holmes is clearly, as Arthur Conan Doyle wrote him, a very mindful character. He sees everything in a moment. He is aware of everything, sensations, sounds. But how do you plan? How do you think about what's coming next? And you do what Holmes did. He took a moment to think ahead. But then when the time came, he lived in the moment. So, I mean, you can think ahead, you can plan, you can kind of rush to the end, but you have to do it as thought for itself. You can't do it in action. You can't do it while you're doing the thing. If you are in the middle of Silam Tao, you got this double Sat Sao, Sao Gang Sao, Jam Sao, you're there, but you're thinking about the end, you're thinking about the Lut Saos at the end, you're not going to get Silam Tao right. If you are at Bong Sao and you're already thinking about your lower gate, your Hawang Jern, you're not doing your Bong Sao right. Your Wu Sao is not going to be in the right place. Your Wu Sao is going to drop in preparation for the thing that you're rushing to get to. The time to think ahead is as you face the Mukang Jong and address it, or as you start Silam Tao. Visualize the entire form, or visualize the section you're going to do. Or if you have a problem with a specific move, think about that move. Then let those thoughts go and execute, being mindful of what you're doing as you do it. Everybody says, especially sports trainers, visualization is really important. But you can't visualize while you're doing. You have to visualize beforehand or afterwards, but not in process. If you do it in process, you end up with a little problem
Hi there.
that
Did that dog just say hi there?
hold a minute, this is a short one. If you try to do it in process, you end up with this problem right here.
Hi there.
Did that dog just say hi there?
Oh, yes. My name is Doug. I just met you, and I love you. My master made me this collar. He is a good and smart master, and he made me this collar so that I may talk, squirrel.
If you try to think in process, you will get distracted. You will be distracted with the thing that the move that you're thinking of, but you're not already there yet. We also, just in general, have a problem with our minds wandering. A good example, especially for guys, is a squirrel. And let's face it, martial arts is predominated by guys, right? But that will happen every time. We're just like a lady walks by, a lady walks in, we're just like the dog from Up. Squirrel! But if you are, well, for instance, for Andre's point of view, I have a student who is looking to go into the cage sometime next year, sometime in 2024. He cannot afford, he definitely cannot afford to be in the middle of his fight and happen to glance the audience and then because if he does that, if that happens to him, he's knocked out. So that's a case of mindfulness. It's kind of an extreme case, but it's a real thing. It's again, we tend to use the word focus, but focus is not the right word. Or focus is something else. Focus is something out of time. Mindfulness is in time, in the now, and in a greater entirety. I'm often teaching students, or when we start to spar or free feed or something like that, well, where do I put my eyes? Well, don't look at the other guy's eyes, because the eyes will lie. Don't look at his head. Every basketballer knows how to tilt their head one way and shoot the other to fake you out. I generally have them place their eyes near the sternum, but then I have to have a discussion that you don't want to focus on it. You don't want to focus on the sternum like you're reading it, like you're trying to read the logo on a shirt. You just want to have soft focus. You want to see as much as your peripheral vision will allow. That is a part of mindfulness. Well, okay, PKED9. What kind of shoot? Are you talking about a grappler's shoot or shooting of a gun? Shooting of a gun requires focus. Okay? It does require that pinpoint focus. And you are a bit out of time. And that you aim as long as is necessary. Getting away from handguns and quick fights and stuff like that. Versus a shoot in the ring. Okay? A shooting in the ring. Okay, shooting a firearm, focus. Shooting in a firearm, focus. Yes. A shoot in the ring requires that overall, I need that general focus on your body, peripheral vision, because I need to see if you're going to step back, and I need to turn my double leg into a single leg, or if I need to go ahead and sprawl out and capture your ankle, do a different kind of takedown, whatever the case might be. Yeah, there are. I'm not saying focus is not a thing that we need. I'm not saying throw focus out. If you're shooting archery, you need focus. If you're reading, you need focus. And reading a book is a good kind of blend between focus, your eyes and your intention is focused on the page, but also a mindfulness in that you have to take in the entire thing. Anytime you have to read a sentence twice or a paragraph twice, it's probably because you weren't being mindful while you were focused on the print. Your mind was someplace else where your eyes were focused on the page. Occasionally it may be that the sentence is just incomprehensible, but most of the time when you have to reread a sentence or reread a paragraph, you are not being mindful, but we are utilizing focus. I'm just reading Andre's statement. Yeah, if he works hard, listen to Sifu. He probably already has all the girls he can handle. At 19 years old, looking like he does, he's doing fine. So one, because we're coming up on having been live for half an hour, and I'm trying to keep these to a half an hour. Mindfulness is important. It is important in everyday life. It's not just important in martial arts. You need to be mindful when you're washing the dishes. If you are not mindful, if your brain is wandering, you end up putting a dish in the drying rack that didn't get rinsed off or still has a bit of something stuck to it. Or if you're not really mindful of your hands and your body position and what you're doing while washing the dishes, as you wash that knife, you can cut your finger. You can get water splashed all over you. When you don't have to get water splashed all over you, and you don't have to get your finger cut when you're washing dishes, if you are mindful of what you are doing. There will be distractions. There will be squirrel. You'll be washing the dishes and there'll be a knock at the door or whatever. Being mindful of your environment, you hear the knock, you put down what you're doing and you address it. You hear the pot boil over, you put down what you're doing and you address it. I know a lot of people who I call them jumpers. They're startled at everything. An old friend of mine, college friend, and his wife, she wasn't wife at the time, every time their doorbell rang, you thought the two of them were going to jump out of their skin. It's like, Jesus, folks, it's just the doorbell. You're used to what your doorbell sounds like. That's a certain lack of mindfulness. Their thoughts are scattered about. And so they get startled into reality because of a sound. Yes, paying attention is a good phrase. But the paying attention to what? And that's why I say we kind of want to separate the idea of focus from mindfulness. In the case of mindfulness, you're trying to pay attention to everything, your environment, and everything you're doing. What both of your hands are doing, what both of your feet are doing. Are your shoulders in line, in harmony with your hips? Or have your shoulders and hips gone out of harmony? Are you tilting? You may be conscious of your hand. You may have both hands in the right place. Are you aware that you're tilting? So it's focus is being might be, let's examine that your hand, your wusao should be one hand from your elbow, one hand from your center line if I'm going to, or quarter line if I'm going to do quarter line for, let's say, bong sao, which is pretty typical. Or if it's tan sao, one hand distance from my sternum or body, one hand distance from my hand. That's a time to call for focus as you're lining that up. But then when you're applying, when you're in the middle of Silam Tao, when you're in the middle of the Mukyang Jong, when you're working a drill, you're working a pattern, or you're sparring, and definitely should you get into a street fight, you have to open up from that focus and be mindful of your whole self and mindful of where you are. Environmental awareness is part of it, but it's more than just that. It's not just where you are in the room, in the bar, in the street, in the alley, but how you are positioned at any given moment in those situations. So I don't know how helpful that will be for you, Andre. Hopefully it'll be helpful for someone. And again, I think patterns like forms or dance or music or any patterned activity is one good way to build up a sense of mindfulness. But you have to practice being mindful of your entire self, just the same as you have to practice the pattern, just the same as you have to practice the dance or whatever it might be. Anybody got something they want to talk about real quick? Questions, concerns, issues with my live streams? If not, I mean, it's Friday night, guys. It's 7:43 on the East Coast. Friday night. If Andre were here, he'd get onto his big DJ voice and he'd be getting ready to tell you to go out and party down. Everybody cool? All right. Well, thank you for being here. Please like and share. I mean, it will be it is recorded, so you can actually share this. Maybe we can get the SEO, the search engine optimization, up a little bit. And y'all have a great Friday evening and a great weekend, and keep on training.